Ah, Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard to another ShareWise webinar. We're very fortunate today to be welcomed by Nick Rathjen. He's the CEO and Managing Director of FBM. Nick, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm really well, thanks, James. How about yourself?
Look, can't complain. It's a good start to the week with the webinar. Now, Nick has a few presentation slides that he's going to share with us in a second. But before we dive into that, Nick, I'm sure we'd all love to hear a bit about your journey. You've got quite an interesting background. I understand you've got a decade in capital equity markets, corporate development. You've also dabbled in some mineral marketing and had a lot of experience in the lithium sector. Could you tell us a little bit what drew you to the battery mineral sector and what you take, being the CEO and Managing Director, what led you to take that role at FBM?
Yeah, thanks, James. Look, good start to the presentation and happy to share a bit about my experiences and what led me here and why it's important for shareholders. So look, I sort of got drawn to the battery mineral space in 2018 with a company called Prospect Resources. We had the Arcadia Lithium project in Zimbabwe and brought in to do run head of corporate development. And over that time, probably one of the main takeaways that I've got over my 4 years with Prospect and the various companies that led up to FBM is no two projects are the same, regardless if it's gold, lithium, or whatever commodity. And it's really about how to unlock the full value of those assets. And we obviously did that with Prospect, taking the company from a $20 million market cap company and within a short period of time, then selling the asset for close to $460 million, of which we paid back 90% of the capital to shareholders. And then the business continued on after me and acquired a large copper project and is now advancing that as well in Zambia. So I think that's the main things that I've learned in my time working on various projects, lithium and other commodities around the world, is really finding ways to unlock the true value of the asset and therefore maximize the value for shareholders there.
Yeah, wow, that does sound very intense, taking a $20 million market cap business and selling it for $460 million. And I can imagine there would have been a wealth of experience in that journey as well. Well, Nick, we do have a presentation from you. Are you able to share your screen at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's probably best to keep the presentation quite quick, free flowing, and definitely want to keep the time available for your guests to ask questions and really sort of interact with anything that they're thinking at this point in time. But thank you for your time. As I said, FBM is a high impact gold exploration company. We're located in the Coolgardie Goldfield belt in the strategic and well-placed and established mining jurisdiction of the WA Goldfields. So it's a really good area to operate. And this is actually just an image of, as you can see, the drill rig out there on the ground when we were drilling last year. So a really good place to operate.
Excellent.
All the information we have is available on the ASX and on our website. So here's the list of all the announcements that will be in the presentation. If you have any further questions, we're happy to answer them as well, but also available on our website and on the ASX. As we operate in WA, it's important to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we operate, and we operate in various areas across WA. So it's just wanted to acknowledge that as well. To really talk about the business and to summarize it, for any business, but particularly our recipe for success, it boils down to four key major factors. The team, the people you're entrusting with your capital, and what they can do and how they're the best outfit to maximize your return. The capacity of the business, we are extremely well funded and not only have the capacity financially, but the capability to look at various new opportunities. The business in terms of who we are, our DNA, and what we're doing and how we operate. And then importantly, the specific projects, which are the assets on which we then focus our intention on and look to drive that value and drive that shareholder return and share price through. So, and importantly for us, and what we'll get through all these points individually, but touching on the projects being the Coolgardie Gold and Lithium project, we'll get to that and the components of that and why it's so important. To start with the team, I believe that the team is a critical bit. Projects in the wrong hands, even if good projects, can go the wrong way, and a good team really knows how to squeeze every ounce of opportunity out of every piece of land holding they have, of every deposit that they have. And to talk about our team, it's a really strong board in the way that to see the type of caliber that we have would not be typical of a company as small as what we are. And that Nev Powell, as chair, was the CEO of Fortescue for over 8 years, tripled the production capacity of Fortescue, and in his time also made them the lowest cost iron ore producer in the world, which is quite impressive. But also his caliber across Genesis Minerals, being the founding chairman of that business as well, and more recently and more popularly known as Mac Copper, with their copper operating asset in the Cobar. So very well versed of cross commodity, cross jurisdiction, and again, operating assets of a really high caliber. To talk about other non-executive director, Rob Waugh, talking about treading in the same footsteps. Rob's gone the full journey through exploration over multi-decades, all the way up to managing director of Musgrave Minerals, which he served for over 12 years. And again, taking that business from a $20 million IPO through to the takeover from Ramelius in 2023. So very well versed in finding discoveries, particularly gold in WA, and taking them all the way through the exploration development cycle. Touched on myself, but then alongside me as an executive position is Robin Cox. Robin brings boots on the ground, really technical focus on exploration. Having worked at majors such as Mineral Resources, Tenement de Grey, and also Tor Energy, very well versed in WA geology exploration. And importantly, he actually made both lithium discoveries for the business in 2023. So a really good component. And as you can see from that team, we're really well versed in various skill sets, but importantly for what the business is today. And probably the last takeaway for shareholders is that myself and the broader board, we are very much aligned with shareholders, having now own over 5% of the company, of which we have and continue to look at opportunities to continue to buy shares on market. So very much aligned with where shareholders are, and we see the opportunity as well. Diving into the business, importantly for us is we are very focused on capital and looking at cost-effective ways to generate value. And the way we did that in 2023 was the discovery of the lithium assets. Successfully in 2024, we sold our non-core assets that generated a substantial amount of capital for our business in cash. We then this year deployed that capital quite strategically in what we would call a very low value but high impact projects, being the Miriam gold right deal in May, and also in June of the Burbank's East ground, all of which comes together in our Coolgardie package, and really now position the business as continuing to maintain a really strong cash balance of 7.4 million at the last quarter, but have some exciting projects that really have that gold potential, and we're actively working that ground at this point in time. But when we look at our business, we do have that focus on generating value, and how we do that is, we really look for assets that have existing mineralization, have scale potential, well located in terms of existing infrastructure, or located close to existing gold deposits or mills, that really de-risk your entry point into assets. And we've found that with our existing portfolio, but also with our cash balance in our team, we're not stopping there, and we're also always having our eye on further opportunities, particularly and including M&A. So looking at that importantly in the areas that we know, which is the WA Goldfields and more broadly in WA. So $16 million market cap company, $7.4 million of cash, very well financially stead to all the exploration work we need to, and all the business development activities as well. So, and a very tight capital structure as well. So I think that's the important aspects of the business that's important for shareholders.
Excellent.
To dive into the projects, and this is really where we start to get very excited about our own business, is that it's situated in arguably what you would call the best regions in the world. And I say that not with tongue in cheek, but really what you look at when you're building projects is access to infrastructure, existing operations, good jurisdiction to operate where there's not only very clear laws and guidelines, but also policy stability. And importantly, what we see there is room to grow or ground that's been highly underexplored. And we can then have that opportunity to advance it. And that's what we see here with the Coolgardie Gold Project, that, you know, over the last, as I say, few months, we've increased our footprint of 75 kilometres on the belt. We're now the second largest landhold on the belt to Focus Minerals, which is a large gold operating company. And importantly, we've done that. We own 100% and we're free from third-party royalty. So it really leaves us open to the economic potential of these projects as we look to rapidly advance them. As I said, situated, you've got to find the best place and generally the best real estate. And where we see that here is that, you've got 6 existing gold mills within 50 k's, 3 within 15 kilometres, and they all are accessible via a sealed road direct from our operation. And importantly, there's over 3.3 million ounces of gold on our belt already, and our ground is contiguous to multiple of these existing assets, of which are operating in development or are rapidly being explored at an advanced stage. And what we see on this belt and what we see at our projects is really good, shallow, high-grade mineralisation, importantly in parts from surface, that we can not only rapidly advance into resource stage, but importantly, we see that growth potential. And the activity on the belt has not only been captured by us, but also recently with Auric Minerals acquiring the Burbanks Gold Mill. And that mill, as it sits, is less than 500 metres from our Miriam project. So really is a really good area to be in and a great belt to operate.
Very nice, very nice. And Nick, just on that,
Yep.
I know that RC drilling has officially commenced at the Miriam Gold Project. Can you talk us through some of the focus areas for this program and what investors should be looking for over the coming weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was out there for the kickoff of the drilling, so I was really, really excited to be out there and very much looking forward to the ASX coming back in early September. Probably as you can see here on the right-hand side of the map of Miriam, is that we as a team work really hard and we work our ground really hard. And so beholden to, not many people knew that there was some historic working here over 30 years ago. And what we did is we really took our time in compiling, quantifying that data and making sure it was accurate. But what we noticed in this information is that there had been very little work done on the project, but what work had been done had uncovered not only a more advanced opportunity being forest, that we'll talk about what we're looking at in our current drilling, but in addition to that, quite a number of other targets that had intercepted really good grades and good intercepts in the 90s and had never had follow-up work. So to talk about all the opportunities, there's clearly forest. We'll dive into that in a second. There's what we call Forest South. There's Jungle, Burbanks, Monarch, and Gorok. But what we've done in addition to that is what we've done some soil work, we've done some physical work, and what we know now is there is an additional target that we've generated called Canyon to the south, and we are very much excited about this. And we tested that alongside forest in the current program because there was a coincidence anomaly of not only the soil. The soil trend there, which got over a gram a ton of gold, but also the structural aspect of Canyon. And importantly, with gold in this type of sort of shear-hosted greenstone gold formation of how this gold comes about, which is the common formation across WA, is that these structures really is structure-led sort of formation of gold, and therefore using that geophysical information, you can really derive where to drill and where you think the potential is. So, and what we've seen that at Canyon is it's over 1.75 kilometres long, which is important. But yeah, with the current drill program that we've kicked off and we're just wrapping up now, it was initially focused on the forest target. And so with Forest, the project had less than 3,000 metres of work, but majority of the work is, as you can see on this map, focused around Forest. And what we saw there is they've intercepted really good grade and thickness, and it's all from shallow. And we've obviously gone through and we're categorising where the fresh and the oxide, the oxide and the fresh component are. But what we can see there is that there's really good economic potential in grades of 10 metres at plus 2 grams, 5 metres at 7. And so what we wanted to do there is, one, confirm this historical mineralisation, because all that spacing of drilling there around the core of Forest means that we can come out with a resource in a very quick period of time, and we're looking at doing that in the early Q4 of this year. But importantly, we believe the old timers, and this is 30-year-old drilling data, so they're not used to conventional drilling methods, the geophysical information that we have, or the geochemical methods that we used. They were looking at sort of a north-south line, and really what we truly believe and what we're seeing and we're testing is not only the existing mineralisation, but the extension of Forest on that sort of southwest northeast line. So doing some step outs from there and really seeing where that trend goes. And that's actually what that would then align with what we see with the trend up the road at the Burbanks deposit that's got 500,000 ounces at 2 grams. It runs on a very similar sort of southwest northeast line. So again, you knew what you knew 30 years ago, and now we are in a much better, more informed position to see what the potential is here. So that was the program. Again, just finishing that up, and very much looking forward to assays coming out early September, and off the back of that, very properly looking to get back out there and advanced not only Forest, but depending on the Canyon outcomes and other targets, extending that drilling in October and September as well.
Excellent. And Nick, just to touch base on that, you mentioned that the Forest prospect, it has returned some very strong historical gold intercepts. Moving forward, what is your strategy to confirm and extend those results for yourself?
Yeah, I think we're quite lucky and fortunate that Miriam and I'll touch on our Burbanks East project, they both have quite a lot to offer. And so in that scenario, what you want to look at doing is not only and concurrently, you want to look at advancing the exploration potential. We think there is very much more to give at this project. So we'll be testing that and expanding that. But in the background and in this current gold market and the advancement of Forest is looking to come out with a resource, and then obviously look at how we can look at the commercial pathways of that. As an example, you would see some other companies have come out with small or nominal or much larger gold deposits. But in this gold market, you can then really not only advance those through the traditional form of building your own mill, but using the existing infrastructure just up the road to have that processed and turn into cold hard cash. That's important for shareholders, and that funds your business growth. And many businesses have gone down this path recently with Oric. London Metals are now looking at it, and various other businesses. So it's not a new form of extracting value while you're also trying to grow your project potential. So, and that cash flow can then fund the business while you look to advance the greater scale of the broader project. So that's quite much of what our focus is finished phase 1. Phase 2 to kick off in September. As soon as we get those assays back, we know exactly where we're going and what we're doing. And then obviously well funded to look at multiple other programs following that, and looking at a resource again, sort of, I would say early Q4 of this year for its initial resource focus on Forest.
Sounds very, very exciting.
And sorry to touch on the project, but we're very much talking about Miriam and focus, and that's where we're drilling at the moment. But as I said, we've made some very strategic moves in the last 12 months to not only secure all the rights at Miriam and the gold potential that is quite evidently there at this point, but more so Burbanks East. And we've acquired this ground over the course of this year. It extends our project footprint by more than 10 square kilometres. It is along strike and along the same geological setting as the McPherson Reward project, which Beacon Minerals is currently operating at and pulling ounces out of. So as I said, it's a very active belt and with a lot of potential. And again, with our team, we went straight into the historical data and it really uncovered not only the old working, but also did more work on soil geochemical work. And we've actually got the geophysical magnetic data interpretation coming out in the next couple of weeks as well, which really informs us of what the structures are and where the surface mineralization is. So all those things in combination, again, are really well planned, low cost exploration programs that gets us set up for drilling. But why we got the grant and why we got really excited about it is the historical work there. Again, all shallow, none of it here, same as Miriam, testing the depth or the fresh rock component of the region, but getting really attractive results in air core of 8 meters plus 3 grams from 32 meters of surface. So these results we think are really exciting and really encouraging to us of what the potential could be. And again, this ground hasn't been advanced in a material fashion, and these air core results are from the 90s as well. So we think this has really been an opportunity for us to capture, which has been missed, and something that we're looking to do work on actively. And so we're moving this tenure to grant in a prompt phase. And I think once we're advancing all the work at Miriam, which we have an extensive amount to do there, and we have all the permits in place to do that, once we get this granted, looking at how we advance this asset, likely through a more advanced and targeted air core program. So looking at that, and that really sort of in combination with Miriam gives us that significant position on the belt and scale that we're looking at when we're looking at gold projects. Another asset we haven't highlighted but does have potential is our Cow North asset, which is people would probably know it as near the Black Swan Mill that Horizon recently acquired with their merger with Poseidon. So really fruitful gold area. Work had been done on here a couple of years ago through another explorer, but never followed up. They were having to rationalize their tenure and their focus, and we jumped on the opportunity to secure this. So this is a very exciting tenure and something that we're looking at testing it once we get that project and that ground to grant as well. But in a really good, again, in the WA Goldfields, located near existing mills, existing mining operations, and definitely holds that exploration upside, although earlier stage to what we see at Miriam and Burbanks as well. And importantly, and don't want to leave it, but we obviously in 2024, 2023, made the discovery of the Kangaroo Hills Lithium project, and Miriam does hold some lithium potential as well. And in this market, although lithium is not an attractive market in terms of its current supply-demand balance and its position, we are quietly and importantly preserving the capital and importantly securing and preserving the value of those assets. So we've already demonstrated there's over 1,000 meters of mineralization from surface at Kangaroo Hills, particularly with the big red Potteroo pegmatites there. And this asset is really well positioned on the turn for lithium. So we've put mining lease applications over the tenure, improve those to grant. And so when the lithium market does turn, we haven't lost any of the upside for our shareholders as well. Very low cost strategy. So we're not deploying any money in any exploration, but it's really about preserving that asset. We believe will have a material effect in the future as well for shareholders. So this is just a bit of a summary, very much focused on our gold focused exploration at Coolgardie. As I've highlighted, a lot of activity currently underway and will be underway for the next 6 months, and a pathway not only to potential expansion mineralization, but also initial mineral resource. And then concurrently with that, we're very focused on business development and looking at new assets, expanding our footprint, a new opportunity for shareholders that they can get additional leverage and upside towards. So, and we're funded to undertake all of these activities. So really looking at putting money in the ground or money in new assets, and keeping the business in a very strong position for 2025, 2026. So that's a bit of a summary about us, and happy to answer any questions you or the viewers may have.
Yes, that sounds like a great plan. So those that are listening right now, if you want to drop some questions into the Zoom chat box, feel free to do so. Otherwise, Nick, you mentioned 2025 and 2026. With your strong cash position and fully committed tenure, How is FBM positioned to execute this program and its wider exploration plans throughout the remainder of 2025?
Yeah. Look, very good point. And I think it comes back to our experience and knowledge of how to advance assets in a cost-effective way. And it sort of ties in, and we'll talk about the first program. It's RC, which is a lower cost form of drilling and more appropriate to the mineralization we're seeing, which is shallower. Importantly here, it's very targeted on the way we look at it is every hole costs money. You need to make sure you're focused on getting that return out of every hole. But in terms of that program, it is a low cost exploration program. RC is a much cheaper form of drilling compared to diamond. And importantly, 1,500 meters gives us that we think we can capture some of that value. But importantly, not extending the business in any way, shape, or form. And these programs, a couple $100,000 per run. So as you can see, having over $7 million in the bank, we can very much actively continue to build on these programs and advance them, and not we can all put the business in any form of weakness in the short term as well. So very much looking at how we can advance those assets. And I think what we're seeing at the project is, as the results come in, we can always upscale the programs based off success. So we have that capability to continue to upsize programs. So no doubt we'll continue to put more thousands of meters in the program over the next 6 months, but we do have that capability to upscale things as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And just covering on the advancements of assets moving forward, Nick, as you discussed, the Canyon Prospect, it's a new structural target. For yourself, what makes this 1.75 kilometre zone a compelling follow-up to Forest, and how does it fit into the broader exploration strategy at Miriam?
Yeah, look, when we went out there to see the drill rig spinning at the commencement program, I had a bit of an opportunity with Robin to duck down to Canyon just to see on the ground what it looks like, and very excited about what I could see on the ground there. There's a large amount of on-the-ground surface work. Clearly, the old timers, 50, 100 years ago, saw gold potential there, and you'd see a raft of not only large trenches of a couple of 100 meters long, but you'd also see quite a number of shafts, some of which go quite deep. So what we're seeing there, and that's right in the heart of Canyon. So what we're seeing there is that's a really good sign of potential and a reason that we're going down and drilling there. But importantly, as we touched on it, the high grade of the soil anomaly, and more the large signature and footprint of that anomalism, and the alignment of that with the magnetic data. And as I said, the type of gold that this is being structurally controlled, structurally led, aligning with the soil geochemical work, that's a really good signal for us, and why we've brought it forward and doing work on it. So, Robin and I were very much excited, and again, when we were down there, we were able to find more shafts and all this interesting surface work as well. So, very much getting excited about what we see there at Canyon. Importantly, because the size of that target and the surface anomalism and what we're seeing there can really have a material impact in the potential of the project, and therefore the reward for shareholders.
Terrific. Well, we're very much looking forward to seeing what develops over at Canyon. Nick, I believe that's all. On behalf of ShareWise and everyone that's listening, we really appreciate your time and insight into the future plans at Future Battery Minerals. And of course, we wish you the absolute best for the remainder of 2025.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you to shareholders and the listeners. And please feel free to reach out if you have any other further questions.
Terrific. Well, we'll leave it at that. Nick, you have a great day, and everyone that's listening, thanks for joining in again to a ShareWise webinar. And until next time, Nick, you take care.
You too, James. Thank you.
Bye.